Hello, my name is Mykyta, and with me I have members of Group 4, David, Tony, John, and Joseph. Today we will be presenting on creativity and problem solving. Here you can view our table of contents for an easier overview and navigation, with the first topic being a definition of creativity and problem solving presented by me. So, what is creativity and problem solving? In terms of technological field, problem solving refers to a person's ability to handle difficult or unexpected situations and find solutions to complex challenges, while creativity refers to a person's ability to produce ideas that are out of the ordinary to solve problems in people's life. If you look closely at both terms, you can notice that creativity and problem solving are closely related, with creativity basically being a basic requirement for problem solving, as creative people that also possess critical thinking abilities are naturally better at problem solving than people without those skills. It is worth noting that both skills are considered soft skills, meaning that they are usually inherent skills and are quite hard to develop without a natural born ability, but we will go more in depth on that later in the presentation. As for now, David will explain how exactly do creativity and problem solving relate to technology-related field.
Creativity and critical thinking are relevant to engineers because they are the basis to problem solving. As engineers, our entire careers revolve around solving issues or enhancing solutions that were previously created by people before us. Creativity allows us to find innovative and out of the box solutions to the problems that we face. A simple example of an innovative and creative approach is the use of a rubber duck in engineering. Most people simply use the rubber ducks in the bathroom or around the house. Engineers, on the other hand, they saw it from a creative perspective and thought to use it to help them debug their code because by talking to the rubber duck, they were able to brainstorm new ideas and solutions. The other skill that is very valuable to engineers is critical thinking. It helps us to understand a problem or a question to its full extent before we attempt to find a solution. This helps to save time and money and in the next slide, I will explain how. Here, I will show you the process that people who use critical thinking usually follow. On the right is a representation of the cycle I just mentioned. Like most problem-solving situations, we start with a basic question or the problem we are looking to solve. Over the next two steps, we go over how deeply we must understand the problem before we attempt a solution. We must have scientific evidence, we must have past experiences, our own intuition. Thanks to this researching steps, we are also able to eliminate the poor solutions or the fallacies or bad analogies that won't contribute to the problem in the long run. This is one of the benefits of critical thinking because we don't jump right into developing something. We start by understanding it, which causes us, which prevents us from going back to the question and starting from zero. Once we have a good knowledge of what we are trying to do, we are able to go ahead and start finding solutions. From this, we end up with a variety of them. On the last step, we simply have to look at all of our solutions and pick the optimal one that will be the most cost efficient, time efficient, reliable, and sustainable. This cycle is important to problem solving because we save time and money, among many other things, which in development are key factors to a brighter future. Because as an engineer developer, we know that making something cheaper, reliable, and time efficient will be something that many companies and employers will want to implement, which in the end helps us further our society. Next, Joseph will show you some applications where we use creativity and critical thinking to solve problems which improve our society.
Problem solving and creativity have many different applications and impacts on society. While there are many examples of this that are not listed here, there are a few prime examples listed below. Probably the most recognizable application of problem solving creativity, in recent years at least, was SpaceX creating a system that brings used rocket boosters back down to Earth safely, allowing them to be reused. Another application of creativity is self driving cars. This has had an immense impact on society. You would be hard pressed to drive anywhere without seeing a car that's capable of self driving, such as Teslas. We have also had many applications in the navigation area, which required quite a lot of problem solving as well as creativity. Engineers had to determine how to get real time data, such as traffic data and construction sites, in order to accomplish this goal. The impact on society is now almost everybody has a smartphone where they use some sort of map software to get where they want to go. Another good example is the defense industry, which has had many applications of problem solving and creativity, such as in recent times, America's fuel pipelines were shut down by external cyber threats. This required problem solving and creativity to counter these threats. Another good example is logistics, which, because of COVID, have had many problems. So, engineers had to come up with some problem solving and creative techniques to deal with these problems, such as virtual truck companies, where truck drivers are able to sign up on these websites and go work for any company that needs them. And finally, the last good example is social engineering requires both problem solving and creativity to create addicting algorithms that keep their users engaged. The impact of this is that nearly everybody who owns a phone has some sort of a social networking app. And I mean, you see it everywhere you go. People are glued to their phones, so clearly this is having a large impact on society. But now that we've covered the applications and impact on society, let's go ahead and go into some of the issues that are encountered with problem solving and creativity.
While researching the topic, I couldn't really find issues with creativity and problem solving in itself, but rather there are issues caused by the lack of it in the engineering field. It is quite obvious that the entire purpose of engineering is to design new ideas and concepts to solve problems, which in itself requires creativity. Therefore, lack of creativity means lack of development and progress. As I have mentioned previously, both creativity and problem solving are inherent skills, which means that a person is naturally born with those skills, making it quite uncommon in general population. That is to say, it doesn't mean that this skill cannot be developed even if the person was not naturally born with it. But this is where the problem arises. Normally, college is supposed to be the place for students to acquire professional skills. However, it is often hard to do due to how rushed college curriculum is, often making students overwhelmed and unable to conduct research. Furthermore, engineers are taught within mathematical principles and design standards, which often leaves little room for creativity, significantly limiting what a person can achieve in a field. If you look to the right of the slide, you will notice a hierarchy of creativity made by Irving Taylor, a famous psychologist that closely studied creativity and creative processes, where he classified creativity in 5 general levels. The first level, called expressive creativity, incorporates the primitive and intuitive expression, which also can be described as the untrained creativity level. The second level, called the technical creativity level, is the academic and technical level, which can be also described as a practicing level. This is a level of creativity that majority of graduating engineers end up with, as they're only capable of applying knowledge learned by repeating after the professor and generally have very hard time creating and exploring new ways and methods. The third level of creativity is called inventive creativity, and it is characterized by a person's ability to explore different ways of using familiar tools, mediums, and practices to create new designs and technical concepts. You can think of this level as using old items in a new and creative way. This is a level that quite a small amount of engineering students achieve upon graduation, and it is also a minimum level required for any kind of progressive development. However, people at this level of creativity are still incapable of creating entirely new and out-of-the-box designs and solutions. The fourth level of creativity, called innovative creativity, is where the person truly starts thinking outside of the box while utilizing out-of-the-ordinary methods and materials to create solutions to the problems. This is a level of creativity that engineers should generally strive for, as this is the lowest level of creativity that enables major technological advancements. The fifth level of creativity, called emergent creativity, is generally characterized as a genius level, in which people are capable of truly groundbreaking achievements. However, this is believed to be the only true inherent level that is unachievable even through hard work. According to Taylor, every level aside from the last one can be achieved through hard and dedicated work, which, sadly, is generally not promoted by majority of college curriculums, creating a big issue of the lack of the creativity in the field. Aside from issues caused by the lack of creativity, there are also some ethical concerns that appear when development moves too fast. Tony will dive into more details on that.
Hello, class. My name is Tony Rojas, and today I'll be talking about the ethical issues when it comes to problem solving and creativity. A few decades ago, a few decades ago, having a face-to-face conversation with someone through a phone, computer, or a TV screen seemed like a feat that we would never achieve in our lifetime. However, now today is one of the most effective ways for interacting and communicating with people across the globe, regardless of where you are. Innovating and being creative is generally a good thing. However, too much of anything can eventually cause problems, and creativity is no exception. In the last 20 years, there has been a staggering rise in technology and computer science fields. With this rise in technology, certain jobs and services that require human labor have been slowly but surely been replaced by automation and automated systems. Some of these examples are like kind of would be like, for example, even though we don't have a lot of them right now, we have cars that now drive themselves to locations and pretty much eliminating the use for Uber drivers or taxi drivers or taxi services. Um, or we also have the Blockbuster being eliminated and being replaced by streaming services like Netflix or Hulu, whichever. And now people don't have to physically go shopping to buy their movies or rent their movies or games. Those are just some examples but there are plenty more. Currently, cars and sorry, currently creativity tech developing technology continues to rise, and while in many cases it makes most people's lives and tasks easier and convenient, it will undoubtedly make jobs that require um, human services or I mean human labor um, obsolete. Humans will become obsolete in those jobs. That's what I'm trying to say. According to some sources, automation has the potential to eliminate the 73 million jobs in the United States by the year 2030, which is roughly about 45% of the workforce in the United States. Um, as you can see on the right graph, you can see that the yellow ones are pretty much jobs that are in risks of being replaced entirely by what's it called, by automation. Those are just some of the jobs, but there's plenty more that are being that are at risk for being replaced. On the left, you can see that there's another graph that you can see that a lot of the people who were replaced by automation have been have been hurt or have been affected negatively, and in most cases, the you know that it creates more problems than good, really, for the people that work in those areas. So in a lot of cases, you end up having to deal with more unemployment due to the rise in automation in many areas, which is only gonna keep rising with the increase and advancements that we make to technology. It will not be much of a surprise if in the near future skills such as programming and troubleshooting electronics were made mandatory to learn, even if your field did not had little to do or nothing to do with computers or IT or computer science, or engineering. For example, let's say you worked as a veterinarian at a at a pet hospital. Um, you might be required to learn some soft skills, maybe like programming or maybe like some troubleshooting when it comes to electronics, because at that point in the future, maybe your job could there's a potential that your job could be so integrated with technology or electronics that it will be mandatory in some cases to learn those skills so you could perform more efficiently at your current job. While this doesn't sound like a very difficult issue to overcome, it's also important to realize that the current demand for technology and software development workers it's on the continual rise, and the amount of people who are actually skilled in those areas or like tech savvy people does not meet the rise in demand. So there's a lot of people out there that are not you know tech savvy or have a lot of experience with when it comes to electronics that are gonna be kind of lost at that point. Um, Another smaller issue when it comes to another smaller ethical issue with creativity will be data collection. Data collection is data collection is networked pretty much into everything we do in our daily lives, like listening to music, social media, gaming, etc. There's many uses for it. Um, every nowadays, for in order to do any of those things, you have to create an account and go through the whole process of creating the account, which involves giving your what's it called, your password, or creating a password and giving the company your email. In some cases, even your social security and credit card information to the company. Um, sorry, sorry. However, with this information, with that information, it allows for companies or even some of the people that work in those companies to know your specific whereabouts and where you are in the country or even in the world in some cases, to track your precise location, which a lot of people really have a problem with it because they see it as an invasion of their privacy. And yeah, that's pretty much like the main issue when it comes to like data collection. Some people are just not aware, like they're being watched, and they feel like they're being watched 24/7 due to this. Um, but it's only but with the create but with creativity and innovation with creativity when it comes to data collection, this could expand exponentially. Like in the future, we might end up having phones or electronics like laptops that record record specific sounds or motions or maybe even smells eventually. Who knows? Maybe we might get to that point eventually. Um, that could they could record it even while they're turned off, which in some cases this could help. Look, for example, let's say you're sleeping and let's say there's a fire in your house. Your phone or electronic device will be able to um, call. They'll be able to pick up that the smell of the fire, and alert the 911 or the fire department to it and call them to your house. In cases of an emergency, like you know, that's an example. Other Again, is that the main issue with that is that people would feel like they're being pretty much monitored by their by the company that pretty much by their electronics devices at all times, 24/7. So while it is important that we continue to make creative advancements in data collection and in general when it comes to technology, it's also important that we don't compromise the privacy and in some cases the well-being of some of the people who own these devices.
There are some challenges that we face regarding these skills. They mainly arise from two situations. One, if there is a lack of creativity and critical thinking, and two, is some engineers have too much of that, and later I'll explain how. The first situation happens because schools, like previously stated, they don't teach us how to develop these skills, which as a result makes it hard for graduates and engineers to find a job. Another byproduct of this is that employers want engineers with those skills. But since we don't have them, it makes it harder to create teams that are able to efficiently solve problems. Another issue we face is if we are great problem solvers thanks to creativity and critical thinking, engineers must be careful with what problems we choose to solve. The challenge of balancing our ethics happens because we could be extremely great at finding a solution to an issue, but that solution could end up violating some areas of other people's lives, such as data collection, which is great to recommend things based on our data and what we like, but at the same time, we must let companies own our data. Next, I will share some opportunities that you get by acquiring these soft skills. There is a job searching site called Indeed, and they did a survey among 1,500 employers in the engineering field. In this survey, they asked the companies to rank the top 10 skills they look for in an engineer. Among those 10 were creativity, which was number 3, critical thinking, number 5, and number 1 was problem solving. This shows how if we develop and acquire these skills, we're able to pick wherever we like best to make a difference. As opposed to having to do whatever you find, even if it makes you miserable, which in the end would damage your performance. A perk of working somewhere you are happy is that it gives you the opportunity to make a significant contributions to society in that field that you're interested in. I hope that if you are starting to see how important creativity and critical thinking are to engineers, if you don't possess these skills, or if you do, but you want to improve them, then listen to John in the next slide because he will show you some great resources to do so.
Here we have multiple articles and books that can be used to learn more about creativity's role in engineering and why it is so important. The first two articles are on the importance of creativity and problem solving in engineering and how to include creative thinking in engineering curriculums. For example, in the article by Eric Liu and Dieter Schoenwetter, they go into immense detail on what the definition, process, and blocks of creativity are, and how to create an engaging, encouraging, and creative classroom. The next two resources include research data on how creativity and problem solving affects engineering, such as speed of project completion and the ability to solve abstract problems. In David Cropley's article, Creativity in Engineering, Novel Solutions to Complex Problems, he talks about the Sputnik shock, which was the push for more creativity in engineering after the Soviet Union was the first to get a man in space. Now we have some questions from our team. You can leave your answers in the comments.
Each member of our team has created their own separate question depending on which type of research they were conducting in this specific presentation. Question number 1. In your opinion, which industry application do you think requires the most problem solving and/or creativity? Question number 2. After seeing our presentation, do you think that creativity and critical thinking are important to solve problems as an engineer? Question number 3. How do you think our workspace or society will be 50 years from now with our current progress in technology? Question number 4. What was the Sputnik shock? And question number 5. In your opinion, which type of creativity in Taylor's hierarchy is the most suitable for engineers? Feel free to leave your answers in the comments down below, but in the meantime, Joseph will go over how we use Microsoft Teams for the following project.
Microsoft Teams was used in two important ways in this project. The first of which was offline discussions, which were critical to the group being able to coordinate efforts. It allowed us to get feedback from each other on progress without requiring every member to be available. It also allowed us to share links, files, and other things so that we could all be on track. Here's the second way we use MS Teams, which was milestones, also known as Microsoft Teams tasks, which allowed us to keep ourselves on track for completion of the project, as well as assign different tasks to each member. It also automatically reminded us if we were nearing the deadline on a task that had not been completed yet. As you can see in the screenshot, completed tasks have a strike through in the text and say who they were completed by. Incomplete tasks have no strike through and say due on them. Here you can see references to all of our research, which concludes our presentation. We hope it was informative to everyone, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for watching.